Well, for more than $4 million in budget allocations, Regina Copeland is the one candidate with the experience to get the job done right. Elect Regina Copeland, Anderson County Trustee.
Steve Emert is a family man, a community volunteer, and a general contractor who has spent 32 years operating a successful construction business, managing more than $15 million in residential and commercial building projects. Steve knows the value of hard work and will bring accountability back to county government. Steve Emert will put his business experience to work for all Anderson County taxpayers. On May 1st, vote for Steve Emert for Anderson County Mayor.
The fact that you're here. We certainly appreciate our candidates. We spent a little bit of time together last week in Clinton. The three of us plus 15 additional candidates. We had 17 candidates of the Ritz, I guess last Tuesday or Wednesday night, and that was a fairly big challenge in that we had so many races to discuss and so many candidates and so little time that it's sort of comforting to know we just have two candidates tonight. But as Owen said, it's a very important position that we were talking about. So again, thank you for coming and thanks to both of you for attending. Just real quick sense of what the rules are. If you've been to forums before and listened to any of the League of Women Voters forums, you know essentially what we're going to be doing. We flipped a coin a moment ago. The candidates will have 2 minutes for opening statements. Greta will be keeping them on time, and then in the close, they'll have 2 additional minutes to close, and we'll reverse the order. And then during the question and answer, I will rotate between one and the other so that both get a chance to answer first and get to answer after the other person speaks. So hopefully we'll have a good amount of robust conversation, get to some issues, and have a very good time. And let me not forget, if you have a question, or if a question pops into your head, during our forum tonight, Greta has these index cards. If you would fill one out, get it to her, she will then get it to me. What we're trying to avoid is a duplication. I've got a handful already in my hand, and we're trying not to duplicate questions in the audience because obviously they only want to answer them once, which is usually enough. The other thing I want to point out is what we are dealing with this year in terms of the primary and general election. This, of course, is the primary for the May 1st primary. And if you look at the sample ballot, which Commissioner Meade was nice enough to hand over to me, if you look at it, there are only a couple of there are a number of contested races, but when you think about what we're looking at, 4 of the races will be decided in the May primary. Those races, the mayor, circuit court clerk, the county clerk, the register of deeds, all will be elected in the primaries they are running. There's no one in the Democratic side who are running. In the Democratic side, the county trustee candidate, Ebony Capshaw, and the sheriff candidate, Mark Lucas, are running unopposed. They will face the winner of the Republican primary in those 2 races. So this is a very important primary. May the 1st. April the 11th is when early voting begins and ends on the 26th. So, these folks are in heavy campaign mode right now because we are literally just days away from the first votes in this election, which will again decide who the county mayor will be for the next 4 years.
All right, hello everyone. Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Roane State. Thank you to the Oak Ridge Chamber for this opportunity. My name is Steve Emert, and I'm seeking to serve you as mayor of Anderson County. I am married to my soulmate, Heather, for the last 25 years and have 2 wonderful children. I'm a business owner who understands management, hard work, and how to be accomplished in a cooperative manner. I am an active member of Second Baptist Church, currently serving on Budget and Finance Committee. I'm a choir member and have formerly taught Sunday school and served as trustee. My Christian values, more than anything, shape who I am. Everyone in the audience knows that Anderson County government is a mess. There is a leadership crisis that is evident in several areas, from zoning issues to EMS to the list of lawsuits that have cost taxpayers nearly $500,000. A lot of these problems stem from lack of cooperation between county officials. I promise to change that. I will work to bring everyone to the table, listen to people at work, and find answers together. We need to focus developing a long-term plan. The lack of planning and communication has crippled our operations and our county departments. EMS has no long-term plan for reversing the losses and now exceed $1.8 million. 5 straight years that Anderson County taxpayers have had to bail out a budget that was poorly prepared. Our zoning department lacks the qualified personnel to complete certain inspections that were forced to outsource or cost to county taxpayers. Lawsuits are a problem. This is my way. There is a my way or the highway mentality, and that has to stop. Taxpayers are footing the bill. Can you imagine what it would cost what we could have done with $500,000? So since we are here tonight in Oak Ridge, I just want to say I was proud to support keeping the General Sessions Court located in Oak Ridge and helping Mayor Gooch and the City Council renovate the mall. They have done a great job. Thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Well, good evening. For those who may not know me, my father was from a long line of Anderson Countyans who settled in New River. I was born and raised here, grew up in Oliver Springs, graduated from Anderson County High School, earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science from MTSU, where I met my husband Lee, and we moved back home. We have 3 sons, Atticus, Davis, and Avery, and now a daughter-in-law, Rachel. My husband and I operated a small restaurant business here in Oak Ridge for over 20 years, and we live in Clinton. When I first ran for mayor, I promised to bring my business sense to work in government. I pointed out that one of our obstacles to progress was a high tax rate that gave neighboring counties a competitive edge in retail and in housing. I pledged to work my hardest to keep those taxes down while at the same time offering efficiencies, innovation, and fresh new ideas. I kept my word, offering no tax increase budgets, building up our fund balance, and those small, successfully passed for the first time anyone can remember an actual tax cut. Moody's took us off negative watch, and while surrounding counties have been raising their taxes, maintaining stability here in our community has allowed us to even the playing field with our neighbors. At the same time, I've offered new ways of structuring government to get more services to the people we serve, you, the taxpayer, but with less money. Through outsourcing and new partnerships, I reduced spending over $298,000 in just 5 small departments, while at the same time adding new services for taxpayers, like our very first ever animal shelter, switchboard service, courtesy booth, and ankle monitoring program in those same 5 departments. I love working for you. I know that you, the people of Anderson County, are my boss, and it is my honor to work as hard as I possibly can, both in and outside of the office, to make this county the best it can possibly be.
Thank you. Mayor Frank, you get the first question, and it speaks a little bit to a couple of the comments from Steve. Controversy in the Anderson County government has been in the news. Some would argue citizens have lost confidence. What will you do to build confidence with citizens that their government is being run efficiently and fairly?
Well, I think government is being run efficiently and fairly. I think probably one of the reasons for controversy is you do have a few individuals that don't want to move the county forward. I think if we look at some of the challenges we had when I came into office, such as a negative watch from Moody's, we built that fund balance. It was critically low in 2011. In fact, at one point in time, our fund balance on a $100 million budget was $198,000. The budget director at that time, Chris Phillips, put in a spending freeze, and from there we started a slow march forward. One of the things that's kind of interesting about even that financial turnaround is that was done with partnership and cooperation with the departments. There were not massive cuts. There wasn't any kind of 10% across the board cut. That was earning the trust of the various departments and fee officials, and when those folks felt like they were respected and there was a budget committee willing to work with them, they weren't willing to spend down every dime they had because they knew the next year things would get better. There are folks that look for headlines, but I think you have to look at the progress we've made, whether it's working on the mall project in the city of Oak Ridge that took a partnership between city and county, bringing a new TCAP facility to Anderson County. That took a lot of partnership and cooperation. I even see the mayor of Clinton out there. Yes, EMS departments all across this nation are having troubles. And with the city of Clinton, we were able to partner on a grant application. That takes partnership, that takes cooperation. That's not a mess. I think when you look at, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. What will you do to build confidence with citizens that their government is being run efficiently and fairly?
Well, first of all, there is no communication between department heads and the mayor's office right now. Right now, one of our major issues right now is lawsuits. We cannot keep throwing money out the window for lawsuits. We have to get outside legal counsel to help us because our law director can't support us in this issue, in any of those issues. Our lawsuit's at $500,000. We have a public works department that we're outsourcing your tax dollars, my tax dollars, to Knox County to do inspections when we have nobody certified in that department to do those inspections. So that is a waste of taxpayers' dollars. We can't keep that up. Well, EMS department's gonna have to be the first thing. We did not even know that the EMS, as county commission, when I say we, county commission did not even know that the EMS department was in financial dire straits, as you would call it. We had to let them borrow $600,000 one year. And then the very next year, after we switched to the 81 Act, we realized that the finance director told us that they were now $928,000 in debt. So now we're well over just a little over 1.8 million. No plan was brought to county commission for that, and we found out after the new finance director came in, and that was under the 81 Act. No plan, no direction, no communication with county commission. It's just, like I said before, my way or the highway.
Thank you. Steve, you'll get the first question to respond. This comes to us from a member of the audience. As a member, and it's a follow-up essentially to the first question. As a member of the Anderson County community and a recent transplant here, I'm very concerned about the recent allegations in Anderson County government regarding sexual harassment. As the county mayor, what will you do to ensure a safe and fair workplace for everyone, but specifically women? And as a follow-up, how do you propose we prevent situations like this from happening again? Steve.
Well, one thing that people have to understand, and they've come to understand that now, that an elected official is hard to touch. So, but me as mayor, I will not tolerate any sexual harassment. That we can't say a whole lot about what's going on right now because everybody's lawyered up, as they say. So, but I want to tell you now, I will not tolerate any bullying, intimidation, because that is a fear factor at the courthouse right now. So I will not tolerate that. Every department head will sign the county handbook. Everybody will work under the county handbook. Regardless of the excuses of one little excerpt or paragraph, we will follow the county handbook and we will follow the guidelines, all of us. And I will do my best. I will not tolerate it at all. So, thank you.
Well, Gene, we do have policies in place to protect employees from sexual harassment. One of the things that I did address at the last commission meeting is why it took the woman who complained on August 9th, her letter was written, she filed it August the 10th, and why it took until the February county commission meeting to deal with that problem. So I think the core issue here is making sure that the policies and procedures that are in place are followed. They are there to protect employees, and we need to follow them, and that's probably the core thing that needs to be corrected here. We already have those policies in place. We have those postings that it's not tolerated. The problem is that it appears for political reasons that information was held. And Gene, I want to use the remainder of my time as there were several attacks in the previous comments. My opponent is in the construction business, and I'm sure that he understands subcontracting. And if we are able to do the job in the Office of Public Works for less money by outsourcing, whether that's the planning or the mechanical inspections. If we're able to do that in a fully compliant with state law method, why wouldn't we save taxpayer money? Why wouldn't we do it that way? One of the very first things I did was take a full-time planner who wasn't doing anything in that particular office at that time, and I outsourced that to the East Tennessee Development District. With the exception of Oak Ridge, all the municipalities in Anderson County actually use the East Tennessee Development District for those planning services.
All right, and let's follow back up on that. You get the first answer. So give us more about the advantages and disadvantages of outsourcing. A lot of folks in county residents would say, wait a minute, you don't need to outsource that. You need to keep that within the family, as they say.
Sure, and well, I could look back to the first time I ran for office. I think I can't say with certainty now because I can't remember the exact number, but I believe we had 12 or 14 building permits issued in one particular year. I think from a citizen standpoint, we can see that if we're paying someone $30,000, $40,000 a year to do that work and then include in that the benefits, we're talking about a large cost to do just a small amount of work. Also, when I did come into office, there was not a fully certified person in that particular position. I did not come to find that out until later, but it was not until my administration that we came into full compliance with the state and were fully conducting inspections by actually certified people. You know, it makes sense to have someone on staff full-time. I'll give an example, GIS. Prior to my arrival, there was not communication between the property assessor's office and the planning office. We were able to outsource that work and then through partnership work with Billy Brown, who does a great job in GIS, and then save taxpayer money. Those taxpayer dollars went to other places in government. So that's not a negative thing. That's just a more efficient way of doing it and allowing those dollars to go somewhere else.
As a general contractor, we are a laughing stock in the state of Tennessee because of our code enforcement. If the mayor says that why don't we go ahead and outsource it because we can save money, why are we spending almost $22,000 of your tax dollars to send the code enforcement officer to take classes, to be tutored in those classes, to be able to pass the test? He's taken the test on numerous occasions at the cost of the taxpayers. The P cards show the records that verify those accounts, the hotel stays, the tutoring classes, the locations, the meals, at your expense. That should not be at your expense. We need to keep it in-house. We need to be respected again in Anderson County, and we just cannot keep tolerating. You cannot hold a contractor up on a job waiting to outsource it to another county that has their own time frames of work with their inspections. They have to do their job as well, along with putting us on hold and the other contractors in our county until somebody takes the time to come and do the inspections. So we're just an absolute laughing stock, and we can't continue to be that way.
Steve Emert, answer the next question. What do you feel is our community's most challenging issue? Explain.
EMS is definitely our most challenging issue. It's across the board. There's no doubt with $1.8 million in debt, that the leadership we need a plan. We need to structure management. I think management is the first step to that. After we do that, I believe we need to touch base with other counties. We need to sit down at the table, talk to other counties that has our same demographics, that we can learn from them. Across the county, this is a problem. So we know that, but we can't keep putting money into an unlimited budget, as we say. We need to operate within our means. Once a budget is set, operate within that in that dollar amount, and then after that, you're pretty much on your own. So we just cannot keep tolerating and cannot keep going. Right now we're at $5.8 million and the budget keeps increasing. So now they're talking like they want to be at 7.9. We cannot keep going that direction. We cannot.
Well, I think from a community standpoint, housing is probably the most challenging issue. To Steve's point, inside government, yes, EMS is an issue, and it is an issue statewide, and it's an issue nationally. But EMS does bring in $5.5 million in revenue. I would say housing is the most critical issue when you look at, for instance, our school system. These numbers are kind of swinging back, but in the Anderson County school system alone, for instance, since 2008, we've lost 500 students in the school system. We need families to live here. We need families to support retail. Oak Ridge put together a summit on this, did a great job of tackling this issue with a partnership with the chamber. There are a lot of reasons why we've struggled in terms of housing. Some of that has been the property tax rates that we've talked about. One of the things that I know that we looked at in terms of the county side is a housing summit. How do we get some of the cost of housing development down? Oak Ridge is a little bit different animal because there's not a lot of land. You have the legacy housing that was never intended to last this long. And then DOE owns a large part of the land. TVA owns a large part of the land. So where is there room for future development? You do have some things going on the west end, some things moving forward. But I would say that probably as a community that has to be the largest issue.
All right, thank you. Terry, you'll get the crack at this question first. We talked about challenges. What do you feel is our community's greatest asset? And explain.
I think the workforce is our greatest asset. The people of this county are the greatest asset. If you look at, I serve on the East Tennessee Economic Development Agency, our local workforce board, ACETA. If you look at the UPF project, if you look at Ishan and Eagle Bend, if you look at a lot of the industries, it is the workforce that brings these people here. And that is a complement to the Anderson County school system, the Clinton City school system, the Oak Ridge City school system. Without a workforce that can be trained, without a workforce that is already trained, and I'm going to include Roane State. We've got a new program too, Tennessee College of Applied Technology, that's getting ready to start up on the north end of the county. That's our greatest asset that allows us to continue to prosper, and I think we have more prosperity ahead as some of these other programs come online.
Thank you. Steve Emert, what do you feel is our community's greatest asset, and explain?
Right now, we have a couple of great assets. Our Oak Ridge Mall, I think that is a great asset to us now. We, as a county commissioner, we've always tried to support Oak Ridge. Warren Gooch, like I said, like I'd mentioned before, Oak Ridge City Council, they have done a great job with getting the mall in here. And we are, I believe if I'm not mistaken, we've finished the first phase, or close to finishing the first phase, and getting ready to start on the second phase. That's a huge asset, but my way, Norris Lake is a huge asset. And so we have a lot of people from up north that want to come into our area to live around Norris Lake. When you have people calling you that are in the six figures and seven figures working from home, broadband is huge, so we need to get broadband. The state, I know, is working on that. But when you have to tell the people that we can't supply them internet or that type of service, then that's not a good thing for us. But right now, as far as I'm concerned, our greatest asset has to be right now would be the Oak Ridge Mall. We do have a great workforce. We have a great industrial development board, but we are lacking in housing. We have to work on that. That's why infrastructure is so important. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Emert, you'll get a crack at the question first. Mayor Frank brought up the uranium processing facility. It will be the largest construction project in the history of Tennessee and is a real-world example of the incredible demand for a trained workforce in Anderson County. First, describe how you view the role of Anderson County government in the involvement of the UPF project, and for that matter, with the other contractors, either at Y12, the lab, or ETTP? And second, is a long question, share your ideas for how to ensure that Anderson County can have a well-trained workforce to meet the demand.
Well, that's one of the questions. I was asked that very question when I was knocking on doors in Oak Ridge, and the gentleman said, what are you going to do to get a better workforce, create a better workforce and environment for the people coming into Oak Ridge and Anderson County? And right now, I think we have to work with the Economic Development Board. We have to do the TIFs. We have to concentrate on that. We have to get our housing. Our housing is lacking, but when it comes to the uranium, I dealt with Mr. Strawbridge. It used to be over that project for a while, and it's obvious that the kind of mentality that I would say that you have with that type of workforce, it's hard. It's hard to recruit that type of person, and you have to have the demographics for that. You have to have the housing for them. You have to have the socializing for them, the school systems for them if they have kids. But it all boils down to, I feel like it boils down to the infrastructure. We have to have the infrastructure.
Well, as far as the UPF project goes, I think this is a critical project for not only national security but international peace. And the role of government is to support the project and let the policymakers and the appropriators in Washington, D.C. let them know that the host community supports the project. We are all in, and that is critical because this project could go anywhere. I think that's probably the number one thing, and then also maintaining the relationships with the people that run the programs. One of the things that I like to point out about our DOE site that is unlike other communities, other energy communities across the United States, is that our environmental program works well with NNSA, works well with the CNS who runs Y12, who also communicate well with ORNL, and so I like to maintain those personal relationships. I pick up the phone and call those folks, they pick up the phone and call me, and we maintain an open line of communication should issues ever arise. The workforce, all of our school systems are doing a fantastic job in this area, and then our chambers of commerce as well are diving into this Dream It, Do It to try to press down on, I guess, getting to our young folks at an earlier age to encourage them to think about this type of employment, this type of training. A lot of it's very scientific, a lot of it's very mechanical. Other things, we're working on bringing the TCAT, Tennessee College of Applied Technology. They will have a presence in our community. Roane State Community College, Pellissippi, even though it's not in Anderson County, has a strong partnership with TCAT as well. I'm often at those meetings. I serve on the TCAT advisory board, and workforce is an issue that
Yes.
I'm focused on.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Let's let you finish the sentence. Terry Frank, last week in the candidates forum, the idea of trust and voter trust and citizen trust came up over and over again in many of the responses. Just for this audience, why should we trust you?
Well, I have an open door policy. One of the very first things I did as county mayor was physically open a door that had been closed, and we had to round up a doorstop. And I have an open door policy. Any citizen, I may not always be in there. I have a lot of meetings, have a lot of boards I serve on, but anyone is welcome to come in at any time. I often tell people, anything you want to know, ask me, I'll give you the answer. You want to know what I think about it, ask me, I'll give you the answer. You want the information, I'll try to get it for you. And so I think trust is just built over a period of time with open lines of communication, with a commitment to transparency, and staying true to your word. There are a lot of folks in the community, I often have this conversation with, you may not always agree with me. I may not always agree with you. I don't always agree with my husband a lot. But we love each other. And, you know, knowing that I'll be honest about where I stand, I think is a big part of that trust. We don't always have to agree, but I think that's part of it. I'm not going to just tell you what you want to hear. I'll tell you what I think, and then we can have an open debate and seek compromise from there.
Thank you.
Well, just like my opening statement, I'm a Christian. I love the Lord. I love my family. I've worked hard to get my reputation as a builder, as a contractor in Anderson County. I've always been a successful manager and business owner. County Commission, I was fortunate to be blessed to be elected as chairman. Sometimes that's, I don't know if that was a blessing or, but anyway, I also believe in open door policy. But right now, we do not have that trust in the courthouse. We do not have it. The work environment is hostile. Intimidation is huge. We cannot force people to come to work and make them sit through that type of environment for 8 hours a day. The turnover rate in Anderson County is 24% per year. That's ridiculous. So we cannot tolerate that any longer. We have to show people that I am a leader. Once I show them that I am a leader and I am willing, and that they know that I'm there to work for them, then that's when the trust will start. But trust has to be earned. So, thank you.
So what drives you?
Well, after being elected as county commissioner first time, it didn't take long to find out that county government is a huge responsibility and you have a lot of weight on your shoulders from your constituents. So my thought process then was just sometimes I'm brutally honest, and if you don't want to know something, just don't ask me. So, but I just feel like we can't keep going in the direction that we're going in right now. The mentality is awful. I can't stress it enough. The lawsuits, our county is we're going down. The budget when the mayor came in was $24 million at the start, and now we're approaching $54 million. We just can't keep going and spending money. So, thank you.
Well, what drives me is a belief that people make a difference. As I said at the Clinton Forum, I believe that God has a purpose for each and every one of us. When I go out into the school systems, I try to convey that to young people, that there is a purpose for your life, there is a plan. And my belief that an individual can make a difference is what drives me at the end of the day. And that is based on my faith. I think the core, I guess as far as serving in government, I was always someone who believed that I was just that person to help other people run for office, or I was that person to help other people maybe write a letter to the editor. And when a situation arose and there was a resignation, I had a group of people come to me and say, we need you to run. And I said, no, that's not anything for me. That's something other people do. But then I put into play my belief that, maybe it is for me. And I do believe that people make a difference. And my love for this county, being born and raised here, has really been at the heart of my governance side of what I want to accomplish for Anderson County, because I want our young people to be able to come back here. I don't want them to live off the Pellissippi Parkway or live in Blount County and commute into Anderson County to work. I want them to live here and be invested here like me and my family are.
Thank you. Terry Frank, what are your plans for the seniors of Anderson County?
Oh, well, we have just a dynamo senior director of programs, and I do serve I'm the only mayor to serve on the East Tennessee Area Aging and Disability Council. So I have a love and heart for seniors. I would like to see our senior programs expanded, especially when it comes to transportation. Ethra does a fantastic job. I know Oak Ridge also has some transportation services, but one of the things that is lacking there is, for instance, with Ethra, folks cannot get out. They cannot leave the vehicle if they have someone else in the vehicle. They cannot escort into the grocery store or For instance, to a doctor's appointment. Blount County has a program called Smiles, where they have activated a team of volunteers that also partner with government and through grants. I would like to see Anderson County, with a high number of seniors, get into that kind of program to further that. I also have talked to Cherie about other counties actually have 501c3 foundation arms, so that the burden is not entirely on the taxpayer. And those programs have been able to do more and receive more resources through 501c development, and I have wanted to do that as well.
Thank you.
Well, we've worked hard with Cherie. Cherie's benefit to the county. You pretty much, when they come in and start, you pretty much give them what they want. I mean, they're taxpayers as well. We have to take care of our seniors. As far as the surrounding counties pay for the senior center. That's why our county commission is invested in the building they've got. We have to work more with Cherie. Cherie does so much. She's, I'm not going to say underpaid, but she's understaffed. She has a lot of help. Her seniors, they love her to death. They come and they do a lot of support, they do a lot of things, but the building they've got now, we need to work on that. We've got some things, some issues that we've got to take care of that. But our seniors they've invested a lot of time in this state and a lot of time in this county, so we need to take care of them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next question, Steve Emert. Anderson County has supported economic development incentives for Oak Ridge projects in the past. What are your thoughts on economic incentives, one? And B, would you encourage the support of such incentives in the future?
Well, the TIF, I've always been in support of the TIF. Oak Ridge Mall is a great example of that. Working with the Oak Ridge mayor and the city council, you have to get the industries in. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of areas that want the industry to come into their area, so what are you going to do for them? So the TIF, to me, is a win-win. We have a good economic industrial development board, and we have Tim Thompson, which is an asset to Anderson County, so he's done a great job. So in support, I think the mayor's office and county commission support industrial development people, and Tim Thompson as well, and I just feel like the TIF is I feel like it's a great thing.
Well, I think economic incentives are always on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes they make sense, sometimes they do not. There's not ever a one-size-fits-all for economic incentives. Just as an example, on the tax increment financing, or the TIF proposal for the Oak Ridge Mall, I supported that. I worked with Mr. Evans and officials at the city of Oak Ridge to support that on county commission. Because it made sense. The value of the property of the Oak Ridge Mall had continued to decline dramatically, and it made sense. Just having new retail alone was going to make a difference for the community, and then also the schools, because those retail tax dollars go directly to the schools. So that is a case where absolutely it made sense. Does it mean every single incentive is going to make sense? We have to take a look at them one by one. One of the things you always want to be careful and cautious of with a tax incentive is, do your existing industries or do your existing businesses feel that they are being shortchanged, or that another business is getting an advantage that's going to be a detriment to them? And so we're going to build a new building, and then this building will shutter or close. So those are the things that we have to balance in government as we look at those case by case. But yes, I think there are always tools in the toolbox, so to speak. I hate that cliche, but I guess it's used for a good reason.
Very good. Terry Frank, and I want to go back to this issue of housing, that you brought it up earlier.
Yes, sir.
And it's one of those chicken or egg sort of propositions, right? Do you need the houses to get the customers in, or do you need the customers to get the houses built? So let me ask you that question. Which do you think it is, and how do you resolve that issue?
Which do you think it is?
In terms of, is it lack of housing stock, or is it lack of prospective customers?
I think it's housing stock. I also think it goes back to what I said in my introductory remarks about the cost of living here. So if you talk to young families and they're looking at a Powell community or they're looking at a community in Anderson County, young starter families are looking at a 30-year mortgage. They're looking at a 20-year mortgage, and then they're looking at the utility rates. They're looking at the property taxes. They're looking at all of those costs. And I think the city council in Oak Ridge has done a good job at maintaining stability, and the county commission has done a good job at maintaining stability and tax rates. So we have our surrounding communities have been raising their rates, and we're getting back on an even playing field where now potential home buyers can look at the community and the assets of the community, the schools, how quick it takes me to get to work. We're now back into a position where I think we're more on the table, but we still are going to have to look at these development issues. I'm sorry, Gene, you said a lack of stock, housing stock?
Or
Yes.
lack of prospective buyers.
Yes. I think it's more about actually not the prospective buyers, but the stock and the availability of land for development.
Well, it's kind of like Comcast. When I was talking to Comcast, they had to have so many rooftops per square mile. And housing, the infrastructure is the same way. We need to, for example, Diane Ebner at the retail development, she did a great job. And that's where she came to county commission. She came to me and talked to me about a little bit about that, but you have to have the rooftops to have the restaurants to come in, and you need the restaurants, the good restaurants, for the rooftops to come in. So to me, infrastructure is huge. I think infrastructure is one of our most important one of the most important things that we need to get done, and when I become mayor, that's one of the first things I will work on. We have grants. There's grants on the table. We're just leaving money on the table. We're not aggressive with getting grants. The grants will help with the infrastructure, and grants, once we get the infrastructure in, that will boost the economy. Once we can get the housing in, then when the industry comes in, because right now, a lot of people that are coming in for the jobs that we have in Anderson County are going to Knox County or Roane County, and that's great for them, but the people that come into Anderson County to work and the people that live outside of Anderson County is unbelievable. So we need to keep those people in-house in Anderson County.
Thank you. Steve Emert, to get the next question. With recent tragic events happening across the country in our schools, what, as mayor, can you do to try to ensure a safer, more secure school system in Anderson County?
Well, one of the things I've thought of is like the metal detecting wand. When 9/11 happened, look what it did to the airports. So when tragedy happens, we have to think about their safety. We spend so much money on sporting events that it just seems like we don't put a lot of money into the safety of our kids. Right now, we have an SRO, but the SRO travels from school to school. We don't have an SRO in each school. So I think an SRO, but I think that would be a great start. Possibly fencing in most of the campuses. Some of them already are, but possibly fencing in the campuses, a guard station, I even thought about developing a school safety booster club. We raise so much money for sports, but our kids' safety we need to address that first.
Could you repeat the question?
Well, I sort of made it up on
Okay. That's okay.
No, let me try to rephrase it. With the recent, obviously, tragic events happening around the country in our schools, what can you do to try to make a safer, more secure school system in Anderson County?
Okay. Well, I think the schools, they all have security teams. I think they do a good job. I think the main part there, or the core issue there, is a secure facility, not letting someone from the outside get in. But as we've seen, some of these are students. Being prepared and training the students, I think back to when my children were young and what to do when a stranger comes to the door. With children, you have to be more deliberate about acting the scenario out. And I would have my children, hey, I'm a stranger, I would come to the door, and then what do you do? And I would physically make them do that. And I think these training exercises, training events will go a long way for the students and keeping them secure. One of my larger questions, and I actually reached out to Ms. Gwynn in our Anderson County school system, is my concern about mind-altering drugs and the pharmaceutical industry's effect on our young people all across this nation. And when you look, for instance, at ADHD medications, and you look at opiates, and you look at a lot of the meds that are out there, the United States, where we're seeing a lot of these violent episodes occur, we are the #1 consumer worldwide for these medications. And my concern is what we are giving our young people, and then what effects it is having on them in terms of violent episodes. And I think, we're going to have to figure out a way to move past the issues of HIPAA and be able to connect these violent episodes, even at young ages, with those medications that they're on, and see if we can't push that back.
Thank you. And you get first back to this question, it's follow-up, essentially. The opioid crisis.
Yes.
It's a legislative priority here in the state. According to the Tennessee Department of Health, the opioid drug overdose rate in Anderson County increased from 26.4 in 2015 to 31.6 in 2016. Anderson County's 2016 drug overdose rate from opioids of 31.6 is much higher than the state rate of 17.8. What, as mayor, can you do to address this crisis in Anderson County?
Well, I think when something is happening in your community, your job as an elected leader, it doesn't matter if you're mayor or if you're the trustee, your job is to sound the alarm. And I have been doing that since I was first elected in 2012 on the opiate issue, from hosting listening events to going down and talking with the legislature. I did host 2 solution summits. Those summits were open invitations to counties, to district attorney generals, sheriffs, county mayors, and finance directors all across East Tennessee. The first event, we had 16 counties show up. The second one, 25 counties. When people are dying, if this were a mass shooting in our county, we would be outraged. And so that is I've been trying to push that issue and raise awareness. ASAP is Allies for Substance Abuse Prevention. They have done a fabulous job of putting together a prescription drug task force. Everything, we're going to have to tackle this one bite of the apple at a time. There isn't just one solution for the opioid crisis. It's many solutions. For instance, one of the things I did a couple of years ago was approach the Planning Commission about doing an ordinance that would make it more difficult for illicit pain clinics to locate in our community. That was a good thing, that was a win, and you could look at Anderson County and you don't see the same issues here with those pain clinics that you do in Knox County.
One of the things I'd like to see happen is stiffer penalties for the drug dealers. Just like she had mentioned about ASAP. ASAP has done a great job. I think we ought to increase our partnership, though, with ASAP, support them more than what we are now. Also, Ridgeview to raise awareness and help early detection in homes. Everybody's affected by the drug issue. I would like to implement in schools, see something like implement a safe haven and reward program for students who speak out against illegal drug uses and sales. The making people aware, we went to up in Main Street, up in Rocky Top, we attended Main Street Baptist Church, and it was just a community gathering to make people aware of what's going on in the community. And I think that needs to happen across the county and across the state and across the United States as far as that goes, drug awareness.
Thank you, Steve. You get this question. What is your 4-year plan, and what would be your first order of business should you be elected as our Anderson County mayor?
Oh, me? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, the first thing I would do would bring people to the table to work on the EMS. That would be first and foremost. We have to get that straightened out. Now, that didn't happen overnight, and that will take a while to fix as well, but we have to get people communicating and talking to one another so we can work on that issue, get everything out on the table. The second thing would be work on infrastructure. I think housing in Anderson County is huge. People just don't realize what that brings to the economy and does for the economy in Anderson County. The third thing that I would take care of immediately was, I don't want to sue anybody. I don't want any more lawsuits. That's a waste of your all's money. We do not need to continue that, and we need to stop that immediately.
I guess a 4-year plan, I have talked to several commissioners about doing something a little bit different, which I think the county has been missing, and that is a visioning plan where we actually agree as a legislative body what our priorities are. I know what my priorities are as mayor have been, and those are getting that tax rate more stabilized and in line with the surrounding communities, being more efficient, but also projects like the animal shelter, the senior program, veterans, taking care of the people we actually serve. Has been a priority and will continue to be a priority. But as far as the county, I think, Gene, a 4-year plan, I mean, I have like numerous projects on the table, whether it's the Emergency Operations Center, whether it's new software for some of the departments. You know, there's a lot of little projects here and there, but I think overall, addressing the housing issue, continuing to work on workforce development so that young people have a future, I think those are going to be the things that continue to pay off long-term benefits for the county.
Okay, thank you. All right, Terry Frank. Both of you have talked about projects, infrastructure improvements, other items that any county government might deal with. All of those things cost money. So would you please, Terry Frank, explain how you would cover additional infrastructure, SROs in the schools, rooftop support, et cetera, without raising taxes?
Sure. Well, we have been very aggressive, despite what Mr. Emert just said, on grants. Since I've been there, for instance, on water and sewer grants, $1.8 million has come into Anderson County for those type of projects. I've been very active, not only in partnership with the boards and committees I'm on, but personally active in putting together working groups for things like expanding broadband infrastructure, getting wireless towers out in Briceville and the remote areas of the county. Norwood, for instance, if you look at that community, is very high poverty rate area, and we started there with just a small walking track, and from there we're building on programs to bring the health department and the schools into that community to try to increase the quality of life. I'll use it as an example, Gene, the animal shelter. New ways, and this is just a small department, but when I came in, there were 2 animal control officers, and we outsourced our animal care, and we did that with a long-standing partnership with the City of Oak Ridge. The City of Oak Ridge changed to a no-kill, and it became a situation where we had no place to take our animals. Working with County Commission, we were able to build a very low-cost facility for $25,000, so that took a lot of contributions, took the help of the Sheriff's Department, and now we are operating a shelter that is servicing the community. As many animals go through our shelter as do Oak Ridge, and we're doing it for only $2,000 more a year than what we were spending when I first came in with no shelter. So a lot of it takes innovation. You know, again, another cliche, thinking outside of the box, but you do have to look at other ideas, and a lot of times that means looking at what other communities do.
Thank you.
Well, grants, like I said before, But industry, if we can get industry in to help offset the tax, we would not have to increase taxes. If we can get the more housing, offer more tips for industry to come in, support Tim Thompson to get more development in, support the Chamber of Commerce in Oak Ridge, Rick Meredith at Danvers County Chamber, Parker Hardy here in Oak Ridge. Show them more support. Let the businesses know that we care and basically keep an ongoing relationship with them. Let them know that we're glad they're there. We want them to stay there. We want them to live there. We want to try to recruit other businesses in. That's why I think the chamber is so important to Anderson County.
Steve, you get this question, and you both talked about what drives you, what you feel like the biggest challenges here are, what some of the assets are. But what is the one thing about yourself that you want voters to know that would help them understand why they should vote for you for Anderson County Mayor? Steve?
Because I've always been a leader. I've never been a follower. My father taught me that at a young age, so that's why I've always worked for myself for so long. But the one thing that I said at the Ritz, and I'll always stand by, that I'm a man of my word. I still believe in a man's handshake. I still believe you take people for what they say. To me, that was a contract when I was growing up. In today's time, it's hard to do that now, but I still believe in it. I will not give up on it. But leadership, I've always felt that I've been a strong leader, working with engineers, architects, to finish projects. Worked on well over $15 million now, well over 16 now with the projects that we're on right now. But I love working with engineers and architects to come to a solution, and that's what we need in this county, is working together for a solution.
That I love the people of Anderson County, and I love serving people, and it's been my career serving people, whether I was doing it in a business sense, making sandwiches or baking cakes, or in government. I take my, I guess, greatest pleasure and joy in getting something done for a citizen that walks in the door or calls my office. And that's probably the core thing I want people to understand, whether it's seniors, veterans, yes, animals as well. That brings me joy, and I think when you're doing a job and it's something that brings you joy, that you're going to do it well, and that's what I would like to convey.
Very good, thank you. Now we come to our close. Terry Frank, you have 2 minutes.
From the first time I ran, I never strayed from my belief that my job is to work for you, the people of Anderson County. You deserve a public servant. I've never wanted the title of mayor, but I ask you to allow me to do the job of mayor. My first act of office was swinging open a door that had been closed. I opened the door of the mayor's office to the people. My job is to hear you, to know you, to go out into the community and understand you, and to stand up for you. I take the job of mayor seriously, and I am constantly working to make sure our communities are properly represented. That when there is an opportunity for partnership, when there is a table where we need an advocate, where there is a need that requires a voice, I am there. And I give my best effort to study the necessary materials on behalf of the county before I ever show up. The mission of the Oak Ridge Chamber of Commerce centers on growth, development, and cohesion. And to partner in achieving these goals, I currently serve on a deep list of boards and committees, everything from chairman of District 2 Homeland Security Council to the board of the East Tennessee Economic Development Agency, to serving as vice chair of the Knoxville Regional TPO, to the board of directors for the Association of Tennessee Valley Governments, to workforce boards and advisory boards, to 20 years nearly on our local economic development board. I do all of this to make a difference for our county, to support the efforts of the people like the Oak Ridge Chamber to make our county a better place. Being there, showing up, is an important part of making this a more prosperous county that is moving forward, not falling behind. In closing, we live in one of the most diverse counties in the state, from the Science of Oak Ridge to the rural mountains of Priceville. and I take pride in learning about each person. I consider myself the people's mayor, your mayor, and I humbly ask for your vote in the May 1st Republican primary.
Thank you. Mr. Emert, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks again for putting on this forum. Jim, thank you. Thank you, Roane State. Thank you, Parker Hardy, the Oak Ridge Chamber. Thanks again for putting on this forum. I would leave you with one question. Where do we go from here? Do we continue down the path of lawsuits and mismanaged county services? We have a chance to change our direction and give everybody a seat at the table. We need to plan for our future together. County government needs new leadership. But most of all, it needs someone who will listen, someone who can work with others. And I'm asking for your vote on Tuesday, May 1st, for Anderson County Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Let's give both our candidates a round. I know these two will be at different locations around the county in the next several weeks, but again, April the 11th is the start of early voting. May 1st, as Steve mentioned, is primary day. This is a very important election, not only in this case, but in about three other county races: circuit court clerk, county clerk, and register of deeds. There are no Democrats running in those areas, so that primary is going to determine your winner. So again, get out, and as they say, vote early and vote often. Right?
Steve Emert is a family man, a community volunteer, and a general contractor who has spent 32 years operating a successful construction business, managing more than $15 million in residential and commercial building projects. Steve knows the value of hard work and will bring accountability back to county government. Steve Emert will put his business experience to work for all Anderson County taxpayers. On May 1st, vote for Steve Emert for Anderson County Mayor.
A select quote agent with a true story that could save you